Hi. Some have argued, where have we came from? Is it creation? Is it evolution? Is psychology just a bunch of theories? Or do we need to open our mind to the possibility that the brain plays a bigger factor in psychology than what we previously have explored? So this is a picture of the brain. And of course, in this area is our frontal lobe, and this area really kind of guides us in reasoning, planning, emotions, and some parts of speech. Up in this area, of course, of the brain is the partial lobe, and this part of the brain kind of controls our movement and orientation, recognition. And this area is our optical lobe, and this area kind of controls our vision and our perception. And down here is the temporal lobe, and this is the part of the brain where it really controls our memory and our speech. But how often do we look at a brain that looks like this? This is a brain that has been scanned or x-rayed, and so of course we see a lot of color. These colors of red, yellows, and greens, this is kind of representing activity. Blue, things are kind of still. Greens and yellows are good to see because this means normal brain activity. And then the red means high activity. Something definitely is going on, an injury or a disease. Yes, this is a gentleman who has a spear that has gone through his head and, of course, through the brain. And so a very well-known story is of a man named Phineas who was working, and his spear went through his brain, actually entered in through the lower jaw. And very miraculously, Phineas suffers this energy, but yet he's talking and he's walking and he's doing all these things, even ready to go back to work. And his work ethic was not affected. It was his behavior that was affected. So this would be a picture of a normal brain. And before we go any further, I would like to discuss the idea of brain scans to kind of guide us into why a certain behavior may be happening. This would be an example of an EEG, and what this EEG kind of does is it examines our electric activity going on in the brain. So this would be the results of a normal EEG. Things seem to be going smoothly. The waves are pretty consistent with one another. Everything seems to be going okay. Now this would be the results of an EEG that just things aren't going right. As we see, there's a sporadic movement in the middle of the brain wave, kind of indicating that something is just not right. This would be an image of what a CAT scan would look like. Now, the difference between a CAT scan and an MRI is just basically the picture quality, camera quality. But what a CAT scan would do is a CAT scan it's constructed by a computer imaging or a computer image, and it's essentially it is not showing us brain activity, but it's showing us the structure of the brain. Now, here is an image of a brain that has had a CAT scan and an MRI procedure conducted. So on the right, we would see a healthy brain, and on the left, we would see, again, a healthy brain. The difference is the CAT scan and the MRIs. The MRI is showing us a lot of activity. The CAT scan is just basically showing us an image. So this would be an MRI of a brain that is normal, and it's showing us that things seem to be pretty consistent. The red is signifying there's activity going on, but pretty consistent. This brain and this brain have been affected by factors. This brain is a brain of a person who has used cocaine, and this brain is of a person who is obese. This is very interesting. So here we see two different MRIs, and this is a normal MRI. Things are pretty consistent. Coloring is consistent. The red to the back of the brain shows that it's active because, you know, of perception and vision. And here we see a brain of a person who has been deemed a psychopath. And things aren't so consistent here. The frontal lobe is kind of still, whereas the back of the brain is active but not consistent. Again, this would be an MRI of a person who is depressed. And again, we see things aren't consistent. Over here would be a brain of a person who is not depressed. Things seem to be going smoothly. Everything seems to be in order. So again, this would be an MRI, and an MRI's purpose is to provide us with detailed three-dimensional computer-generated images of the brain's activity. Again, trying to show us the activity of what's going on. So this is obviously twins, and these are images of their brains, and this is an unaffected twin. Things are pretty normal. And over here, this twin has been diagnosed as schizophrenic. Again, proving that these types of methods can really show us what's going on within the brain to cause a certain behavior. I found this very interesting because this is a healthy brain. Of course, it looks pretty healthy. And this would be a brain of a person who has been addicted to drugs. And the damage done to the brain has caused this person to develop severe depression. So in the beginning, I have shown you essentially what a healthy brain looks like. And this is an unhealthy brain. So when we are talking about psychology, is psychology just a bunch of methods that we kind of try to implement and try to use to understand behavior? Or is psychology more than just these methods? Should we really be opening our minds to how the brain affects psychology, and damage done to the brain could cause some behaviors that we see in people? So I just want to say thank you for opening up your mind to the idea that research of the brain is necessary through psychological methods to really explain to us why it is that we do what we do, or why, or maybe kind of an answer to why we behave the way that we do. So I really hope that we really start to think of the brain as an important piece to understanding psychology. Thank you.